Archie Luxury jumps on a Boeing jet, leaves behind the family, no regrets. He's got a birthday on your old Shanghai. Eyes are on Mrs. Lai, the reason why. While in Brisbane, the tears roll strong. Chinese whispers called him to Hong Kong. Pack up your bags and off you go. Leave behind the begging for the Luxy show. Archie flies where the dragons soar to romance Mrs. Lai until his balls are sore. Archie's chasing dreams in the mystic land. Mrs. Lai brings coffee to his hand. Family's calls echo on the phone. He's miles away, lost, but he's not alone. In old Shenzhen's glow, he likes to stray. With Mrs. Lai, they bonk till the light of day. Pack up your bags and off you go. He's not showing up to New York, what show? Archie flies where the dragons soar to romance Mrs. Lai until his balls are sore. Though the tears roll down in Brisbane town, Archie's 3-inch dick flops all around. Celebrations in the neon night, forgetting home, he's chasing new Asian delights. Pack up your bags and off you go. Leave the begging for the beach ball show. Archie flies where the dragons soar to romance Mrs. Lai until his balls are sore. Weeks later, Archie leaves his playground, comes back home, he's Brisbane bound. Comes up with stories that he's going bust, has to fool the punters to gain their trust. Pack up your bags and off you go. Leave the begging for the beach ball show. Archie flies where the dragons soar to romance Mrs. Lai until his balls are sore. Archie spent the punter's money, he's in a fix. Spins a story that he can't eat bricks. All the lonely simps believe his scam. Grab all their cash, shove it in his hand. Pack up your bags and off you go. He didn't bother with the New York watch show. Archie flies where the dragons soar to romance Mrs. Lai until his balls are sore. Comes on streams, he cries poor again. His mate Tan gives him $5 grand, maybe 10. Archie thinks he's a big swing dick, cause the punters fall for his gypsy shtick. Pack up your bags and off you go. Didn't bother with the New York watch show. Archie flies where the dragons soar to romance Mrs. Lai until his balls are sore.
Hey guys, this is Archie Luxury, and we are on. I don't understand. I don't understand. My guest is not on here. Just jump on. Just jump on. You were there. Don't reload anything. Don't reload anything. Just get on as before. Let's see if I can get him on. Just trying to get our guests on here. Let's have a look here. He's on. Hey, Mr. Marcus. So Marcus, let's just go through a little bit of YouTube StreamYard thing. So what happens is when I give you the link, I got to put you're in the back room. I got to put you into the front room. So it doesn't automatically happen. Okay.
And I was getting confused between the old link, this link, and the public link. I figured it out.
Well, the old link should be the same as this link.
Oh, that's strange. That's where I was waiting, where it said I was on for 15 minutes.
Maybe that was last week's show, the 2 weeks ago show. Yeah. No, well, that one's dead.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well,
okay. So it doesn't matter. So anyhow, the thing is, you can always go to the Archie Luxury show, and it's got the public link. It's always available. Once I make the show, it's always there, like in advance.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll do that. I'll just go to YouTube because I wanted to really promote this. I sent it out to 8 or 9 people that want to watch it, but I would have liked to do a bigger promotion. But I know. Exactly. We got to do
So talk to me. What is going on here? Talk to me. What is happening? What is new since we last spoke? Talk to me. What is
Are we on?
happening in
Are
your
we
life?
without an introduction?
Actually, I already ran the introduction.
Oh, here we are.
Yeah, no, it's all. And I linked my audience from my show I just finished. They came over. So we are in business. And we got a super chat already. We got a super chat from Patel Philippe, $14.
My goodness.
Marcus,
Patel.
was Sir Walter around during your covert mission to take down the most dangerous man in the world?
Yes. Well, no. Sir Walter was around, but no. This was all pre Sir Walter. Sir Walter has passed in 2019, replaced by Mr. Bueller in 2020. And do you want me to tell the story of how I found the most dangerous man in the world? And how I
Sure, please do. Please do.
So I was very well known publicly, particularly amongst the government officials of the Philippines, having served as the unofficial ambassador from California to the Philippines. California, being the 5th largest economy of the world, has business in the Philippines. It is, in fact, the 3rd largest investor. I was keyed into that component for 5 years, and I lived in the Philippines 3 to 4 months a year at the Shangri-La Hotel. They called me the ambassador. Actually, the name appeared on my official state office building door, ambassador to the Philippines, but that wasn't a real title. I was the liaison, and my job in California, when I returned, had nothing to do with the Philippines. But nevertheless, I
So
spent a lot
you're
of
not
time.
Filipino in the least. Do you have any Filipino blood in you?
No. And I remember having lived in the Philippines from 2003, 4 months a year until 2022. I worked there for 5 years, 4 months a year. And during that time, I got a reputation. I was supposed to meet I met the president. I spoke to the Senate. I spoke to the stock exchange. I got around because technically I was the only person they could talk with on the 3rd largest investment in the Philippines. So we really played this. We really played this up. It really helped another component, another story in California. But we did what we did. One day, I was watching Dog the Bounty Hunter. And I loved Dog the Bounty Hunter. How he got famous because he went to Mexico to get Andrew Lester. He got him, got in a lot of trouble, but he got him, brought him back. He was a wanted man in America. And then he had a television show given to him. And I was discussing this with 2 people that I had met that I knew were CIA in the Philippines, but it was never confirmed or talked about. It's unspoken. And I was approached by their subsidiaries to be a conduit to the American government, essentially the State Department, because this is the Rewards for Justice program, publicized by the FBI. But all the 17 intelligence agencies in America are tied to these most wanted terrorists in the world. They're all tied, but the lead is the State Department, called the Bureau of Diplomatic Security. And the Bureau is mostly a cover for CIA. This is nothing that isn't already publicly revealed. And these gentlemen from this unit reside in every embassy in the world. And I approached them and made contact with the Rewards for Justice program, Diplomatic Security Unit in the Philippines and in Washington. And I told them in my first message, I control the movements of Marwin. That's what he was known as. He has a more formal name. Marwin, who's at the top of your wanted list. There's a $6 million bounty put on it by, I believe, Hillary Clinton under her time. And I actually indirectly control his movements I can arrange for him to be turned over without a shot being fired. And this message was quite shocking because their response was essentially in writing to me in non-confidential, non-top secret communications that said, we are unaware of, State Department saying, we are unaware of any terrorist in the Philippines, anyone on that list. There are bad guys there, but not anyone from that list. We're unaware of this new information. Tell us more. So I did. I was approached by a man named General Ray of the former Philippine military. He was not a general. I believe he was a lieutenant colonel. And he was introduced to me by another gentleman named Ram. Ram is not confirmed, but, I presume CIA. General Ray is an asset. Both of them met me and said, hey, you've put feelers out. You want to be the next Dog the Bounty Hunter. Have we got a job for you? So small talk turned into a real meeting with real stuff. And they said, here's the deal. In the South Philippines, we have Muslim-controlled areas. They want a peace treaty with the Philippine government. This particular group does not want to be labeled international terrorists. They'd like to be reclassified as domestic terrorists. They love Americans. And we would like your help, and we believe we can facilitate this success in these two components with the turnover of an Al-Qaeda terrorist that they say they control his residence and movements. Al-Qaeda was paying Philippine Southern Muslim rebel groups, and I could look up the name in a minute. It's called the BIF, whatever that stands for. I have to look it up. BIF is the group, and that's the acronym. And this group trains Al-Qaeda for money because this group knows how to be bad, and Al-Qaeda has money. But Al-Qaeda hires, losers. They don't know how to be bad. They have to learn how to be bad. So they go to the Philippines, they get trained, and this particular person, Marwin, whose brother resides in California, he is a known wanted terrorist. He's a bad guy, and he is presently in the Philippines being trained how to be badder by Philippine rebels, and Al-Qaeda is paying for that. So they came to me, this group, head by Boy Hashim, and Boy Hashim, via these representatives, General Ray will call him, and Ram, the American living in the Philippines, that CIA, came to me and said, look, we want your help. Now, Ram was really out of the picture because he's undercover. He's not part of this project. He's just present. And I am to facilitate the turnover of this terrorist for eventually a significant reward and hopefully a peace treaty between the Philippine government and the rebel group, the Muslim rebel group, and then and other positive things like them being removed from the international terrorist list. So I then go to the State Department. I told you I made my contacts with this unit. And a guy named Paul Kennedy, who said he was State Department. He was CIA, a different unit than RAM. It gets a bit confusing. But Paul Kennedy came to me and said, Marcus, we know these people you're dealing with. We know them. They've been helpful, meaning General Ray and his group, and Boy Hashim, the president, the chief, whatever his title was, of the BIF rebel group. They came to me. And they said, but we need proof. You need to get a letter. A letter? I thought, how silly. But, I guess I don't watch enough spy shows. So I called Ray and I said, Ray, they want a letter. And Ray said, General Ray said, I know exactly how to do this. Marcus, stand by. Within a few days, I had a document in front of me, signed by Boy Hashim, the Muslim terrorist leader. And it said, the details of the location of Marwin. This letter I pass on via fax from the Shangri-La to the State Department. I put on the cover of the fax, guys, I don't know if this is a scam or not, or true or not, something to that effect. I have it right behind me on that table, that fax, which you can't see because I have this stupid temporary background. But anyway, within 3 days, Paul Kennedy, CIA under State Department cover, says to me, we have verified the letter. I said, how did you do it? He said, well, we went to a guy who went into the camp, and Boy Hashim said he signed that. I said, oh, great. Now, that began the actual location of Marwin. The American government said they were going to turn the project over to primarily the Philippine domestic police. They were going to assist them, and they're going to get Marwin. There is a component of the story that I will tell another time. I got an investor. I got a big, important international border protecting group, does border protection and money transfers, and I was going to get Marwin myself. The State Department admonished me not to do this, so I won't go off on that tangent of the story, but I didn't do it, and we just turned it over to them.
Did you get your $6 million? That's what I want to know.
That I can't comment on, but what I will tell you is a battle ensued about a year later to kill Marwin with the National Police Force of the Philippines. They have a national police there, like a military. And the battle didn't kill Marwin. 2 years later, there was another battle. This is all public record. You can look it up on the internet. They didn't kill Marwin. Then in 2000, forgive me for forgetting the year, 16 or 17, I'm in the Philippines. I get into a taxi. I'm there one day, and there's a hell of a thing going on the radio. The Congress of the Philippines is having hearings, and the theme is this: why are we doing the dirty work of America? How did this project happen? Because they killed Marwin. I turned to the taxi driver and I said, what are they talking about? What has happened here? It was my first taxi ride after a night of sleep in the Philippines. And that taxi driver said to me, sir, they got Marwin. Now, Filipinos, they know they're terrorists. That's how he put it to me. They got Marwin. And they had been holding hearings for like 2 or 3 days. Those hearings would last weeks, daily, all day, Congress, Senate. I said, really? Where did they find him? And on the back of my business card, I pulled out my pen, and I wrote the name of the location. It was a long name, begins with M. I got back to my hotel room. My condo at that point. I'm in a condo. I bought a condo. And in my file that I travel with, the name of the location on the back of the business card that the taxi driver told me they were talking about on the radio is exactly the location of the document that I had received years earlier and turned over as Marwin's location. I immediately called the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who was my friend. It's the second highest ranking political official in the Philippines, like America. They have the same structure of government. He asked to meet with me. His name's Speaker Belmonte. I went to meet with him. His assistant, Marge, said, Marcus, you got to go to the press. Now, there's only 2 national papers in the Philippines. Turns out Speaker Belmonte owns one of them. I went to that paper. I told them the story. On the way to the paper, I called General Ray, and I said, General Ray, because this is happening very fast. I'm there 3 days at this point. General Ray, I'm doing a story. Is that okay? Sure, Marcus, whatever you want. Okay. I gave him veto power. I show up at this newspaper. I do a full interview. I show them the document, because I had the original. I showed them the document I faxed at the State Department years earlier showing the location of this terrorist Marwin, and she said, the interviewer, who's a senior reporter there on television as well, she said, Marcus, that is a certificate of, I'm forgetting the exact terminology, a certificate of movement. Anyone in the South Philippines has to have one of those on or they're going to be in trouble. They have to have it with them. That is a copy of Marwan's movement document. They have a name for it. And I said, oh, because she knew the format. It's like showing someone a driver's license in America. You know, that's a driver's license versus a passport. Okay, so she knows what this is. And she said, boy, Hashim signed this personally. She's really impressed. I make front page of the national paper. I make page 2 of the secondary paper. I'm on television every night in the Philippines. I was asked to speak to senators, congressmen at the hearings. And my line was this. I said, look, here was the crisis. 44 Filipinos died killing Marwan. They only sent 44 Filipinos to kill him. They all died. He died. There were 2 Americans present that did not die. They cut Marwan's finger off, sent it into the LA FBI. LA FBI took 9 months, but eventually, September of the following year, they announced Marwan's DNA matched. They killed Marwan in that location, Mesopotamian, whatever it's called, hard to say, and they killed him. And the scandal is, why is the Philippine domestic police working on this? Why didn't the president of the Philippines know about this? He denied knowledge. And who is this Frishman guy that claims he's responsible for it all? And these are the questions they're asking. And then when I went to tell them was, hey, no one had to die. I told the American State Department that I would facilitate a voluntary turnover, that they would escort him out of the camp, they would turn him over, and no one had to die. But the State Department wouldn't allow that to happen. They wanted to turn it over to the Philippine domestic police, assist them with drone searches. There was 3 battles, and finally they kill him. That is the story of Marwan.
Did you get your $6 million, Bart? That's all I
cannot comment on that by virtue of.
But you've driven Porsche ever since.
Well, let me answer it this way. It's an analogy, and it's kind of a stupid one, but it comes to mind because today I saw a video of Congress. We have a congresswoman in America. She's a lady congresswoman, and she hates Elon Musk, and she hates Donald Trump. And she was asked, do you still have your Tesla? Do you still have your Tesla? Because she hates Tesla. She hates Trump. And her answer, and I heard it on the radio today, not the YouTube earlier, her answer was, for security reasons, I can't tell you whether I have a Tesla or not anymore. Her name is AOC, Congressman AOC. She goes by an acronym. When you hear that answer, you think to yourself, well, it could only be a security reason if she still drives the Tesla. If she said, I don't drive the Tesla, she's enhanced her security protection because she doesn't then reveal what she drives. So I will just answer the same way. For security reasons, I certainly can't reveal the answer to that question. But I did find this terrorist. The world knows it. The State Department has attributed to me. I essentially became an agent of the State Department during this period. And there are all sorts of offshoots to this story. The next terrorist, which I can't discuss, the various other components of this story that lead into all sorts of very interesting things. A year later, I'll end with this. Let me end with this. A year later, I got a call from the BIF, not Boy Hashim, the leader, but someone unnamed. He didn't give me his name, and it could have been anybody, but they said it was them. And they said, Marcus, we are telling you now that we credit you partly with getting us the peace treaty with the national government that allows us to live peacefully. We have been taken off the international terrorist list. We are now domestic terrorists. They're bad guys still, but we've worked out something. And that call came to me in about 2017, I think. So, it was a very interesting thing. Now, during this time, and this is where the story ends, everyone wanted to know if Boy Hashim really signed that document and gave it to me, because that would expose Boy to being a target by Al-Qaeda. Boy Hashim denied signing it, said he never heard of me or knew anything about me. And then I got a phone call from General Ray, And General Ray said, Marcus, and this is at the time I turned over the information. He said, Marcus, you're in big trouble. You're a target. Boy Hashim is furious. You went public. I said, General Ray, I called you on the phone before I went to the press. I gave you veto power. You said, okay, well, never mind that. I must not have been listening or drunk or whatever. He said, you did something terrible. You need to leave the country. The State Department called me. You need to leave the country. And here's what I did. I came up with something ingenious. I wrote a 9-point memo and I put it out publicly. And I sent it via channels to Boy Hashim and General Ray. And it said 9 reasons why I, Marcus Frishman, did not believe that Boy actually signed that document. He called a press conference, held it up and said, see, hey, even Frishman doesn't believe that I would have signed that document. Now, I did that to cover him so he could have something to put out. But he absolutely signed that document. I mean, I didn't eyewitness it, but the CIA said it was verified by him himself. So that's lots of little pieces to this story. There it is.
So tell me this then, Mr. Frishman. Did you, after this incident, did you buy a Bentley or did you get a Rolls Royce?
Well, you know,
for security reasons, you can't answer that. For security
reasons, I cannot reveal. But I tell you what I will reveal. Let me just step away for a moment.
Is it safe for you to go back to the Philippines now?
I have not been back to the Philippines since 2022. I have a couple of reasons for that, but the one that relates to this, I will tell you right now. There's a gentleman that's the son of the ombudsman in the Philippines. The ombudsman is the highest ranking law enforcement official in the Philippines. They're very much like an attorney general would be in America, except they're focused on only corruption and they're appointed for long terms. The longest serving ombudsman's son is a consultant to elected officials running for office. He called, he's a friend of mine, very close. He's one of my 2 or 3 closest male friends in the Philippines. And he called me and he said, Marcus, I have to talk to you. And I recorded it. Maybe next visit, I'll play it, or now if you want me to spend 5 minutes looking for it. He said in this recorded message, I was in South Philippines consulting for a senator that's running for re-election, and your name comes up at the table. He doesn't know who you are. He asked me because of my American connections. He knows about you. I didn't tell him, Marcus, that I live in your apartment now and then. He sold his condo and travels back and forth from Australia, but he's a Filipino. I didn't tell him I knew you, but let me tell you what he told me. He said there's a bounty on your head. He didn't know how much, but it's a large bounty. And that bounty was issued in 2019. You really can't come back to the Philippines. They'll get you. And I said, well, I have ways of avoiding that. And that's the last I've heard of it.
Fuck! So the moral of the story is don't do the deed for the State Department.
Well, I don't
Stay out of the politics.
But I will tell you about a beautiful pen, Archie. Look at this pen.
Yes.
That is a Pelican 1000.
Yes.
That is a special pen. Inlaid mother of pearl. Gold plating. I don't think that's solid gold. It's about $1,000 when I bought it. Maybe it's more. It is a top-notch pen. I don't know if that's a
beautiful pen.
It's beautiful. It's a very it's in the list of top 10 pens you'd want to have. It's like getting a Rolex Submariner of pens.
That is fantastic. Let me ask you this. Are you safe if you have a target on you? Are you safe in America, but is it safe for you to stay?
It's funny you say that. I have taken tremendous precautions, but I think I am safe. I do move around the house with a gun for anyone who's listening. I literally move around with it. Now, admittedly, it's not sitting right next to me here right now, but trust me, it's upstairs. And when I'm downstairs, I take it down. When I go outside, I take it outside into my backyard. Someone entered my house in 2014 while I was in the house upstairs, but this was just a simple burglary, and they heard me and then they left. I think I have certain things I do in the Philippines. I gave up my driver in the Philippines. It's easy to have a driver. I don't say that to brag. Anybody?
Yeah. No. I understand. I understand.
Cheaper to have a driver. I could have a driver 12 hours a day. It's cheaper than a taxi every day. But the point is, I went to taxis, and the reason I do that, all the taxis are white. So now every driver is mine, because they get you. When they get you, Archie, they get you going in and out of your car, in and out of your home to your car. So while I am somewhat vulnerable, but I have moved. So while I am somewhat vulnerable in the in and out, my driver's a taxi. They can't. I don't have a car.
I've got a super chat's just come in. Herman Rants, $2. Ask this dude about Peter Scully. Who is Peter Scully?
Don't know. Peter Scully. Should I? Is he someone famous?
I'm not sure. I just
someone
let me ask you this. Tell me this. Now that you're safe in America, right? Now that you're safe in America, why the fuck haven't you married Winky yet?
I'm looking up Peter Keller. Oh, here it is. German football star.
No, but Peter Scully.
Wrong Keller. All right, Peter Scully. I'm sorry. Anyway, we'll look it up later. Winkle is her name. Well, first of all, I met her when she was 19. We fell in love. We lived together. We had a great relationship.
Oh, Peter Scully. Sorry. Peter Scully was a convicted Australian murderer and sex offender who was imprisoned for life in the Philippines. Why would you know him? You wouldn't know him.
I don't know anything about him.
So
maybe he's wanted. Maybe he was wanted and caught in the Philippines. Maybe there's a backstory that relates. Who knows? But Winkle and I met, and I was introduced to her by certain people I knew, and we just hit it off immediately. Yes. I remember our first date was in BGC of the Philippines, Friday's restaurant. Yes. We had a lovely lunch. It was so good that when it ended, I was walking her to her driver. I was going to my taxi, and I said to her, why don't we keep this going? Why don't we see a movie? And she said, sure.
Yes.
And I said, okay. 3 days later, she moved in, although I asked her mother's permission. And then she promised me within about 3 or 4 months, which would have been my second visit, she promised that when she was through with school, she would marry me. 4 years later, March comes, and she just doesn't want to move to America. She wants to continue her life in the Philippines. She'll marry me there. She'll have me move there or not and marry me either way. But I said, look, I don't want
to get married.
Yes, I
really want to get
my wife. I said, Winkle, I'm going to have to break off with you if you don't commit to this.
Now, I'm going to have to tell you something. I have had some very, very attractive gay men who've expressed interest in yourself.
I am not interested. Well, let me put it this way. I am a metrosexual. Look that up. It's something of
yes. No, I'm a metrosexual as well.
Absolutely.
And also, I am a proud homosexual. I proudly have sex at home.
But I'm a heterosexual 100%. And
you're heterosexual.
Yes, and furthermore, I'm not even highly sexually driven. I've actually been abstinent since 1991.
Okay.
My choice.
That
doesn't mean I have intimate encounters with my girlfriend, my live-in girlfriend, but we haven't had full sex. Winkle's a virgin. These are kind of personal things, but you brought it up. I'm comfortable with saying that because I think more people should de-emphasize sexual attraction and be focused on things that aren't. And I think I've been blessed because I think most men are visual. Most men are highly driven by the visual, and I'm not. Oh, sure, you'll look at a beautiful woman, you can't help but do that. But you know what, Archie? If that woman doesn't have a personality, doesn't have certain things that I find attractive, like in high
No,
level intelligence.
I tend to agree with you. I
Get it.
must agree with you, Marcus. I find the same thing myself as I getting older, is that they've got to have enthusiasm and charisma and
Fine.
charm. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was just, as you've expressed some very personal details, I will give you some personal details. I had a very rich man who introduced me to his harem, and because I was a guest and a celebrity, I was allowed to choose. And I got to be totally honest with you, there was nobody there who I wanted to have a rendezvous with.
Because
And
you're
and
unique. We
I'll
are
be honest
unique.
with you. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, no, it's funny you say that, but it's very true. You get older, you like to have somebody who has a maturity and has somebody who has some intellectual ability to convey these things. And this is the whole thing. But I must say, in recent years, I've been really turned on by money. Money's been a great aphrodisiac for me. But
Let me comment on that point, because there's a lot of stereotypes of an older man, white older man, going to the Philippines and finding women. Okay, so it's clear I didn't want to go to the Philippines. I was forced to go for a job. I remember saying, can I turn 14-day trip into 7 days, boss? No, and I wound up having to spend 30 days there, and then I enjoyed it, got a life, and spent time there. But here's the but. I learned very quickly in the Philippines that there's this group, it's a class society. And if you hang out with the lower, now we Americans don't understand this, and people would frown on saying it like this, but it is what it is in the Philippines. If you hang out with the lower class women who don't come from families with money or don't have their own independent job of any significance, you will find that you will get undue attention from people who may not love you, may not have a real commitment to you. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but it's a gamble.
yes.
But if you date wealthy or upper income, which is about 4.5% of the Philippine population, just so you know the numbers, and mostly in Manila itself, not scattered around the country. If you date an upper class woman from an upper class family, she's not after your money. She's not after your gifts. She's not after a cell phone. She's not after things that 80% of the other women are. I learned
she has her own money.
I didn't know it. I learned it in the first 2 trips. And I was there as a guest of the government. They were sending all sorts of women to meet with me at every event, some other woman. And in my memory now, I'm remembering them one by one. And I remember saying to my host, who was an American Filipino, he said to me, as he went with me for security reasons, he said, Marcus, I'll never forget this. We're sitting on the bed together in Shangri-La Hotel. I mean, he has his own room, but he's in my room. He's sitting at the other bed. I'm sitting at my bed. And he says, boss, he called me boss, just go on to the next one. I said, Romy, his name was Romeo. I said, Romeo, you remember this girl, Alex, that came yesterday that I met at lunch with this event? I remember exactly where it was, the Mayor Belmonte's event. And I said, I want to go, I want to see her again. I liked her. There was a thing. And he said, but boss, you should, whatever words he said no, go to the next, there'll be someone else, some other girl. I said, Romeo, you're married. I'm not. And I have no interest in having anything casual with anyone. And I liked that. Can you get her back? He went to his cell phone like this and started to text. She'll be here tonight, sir. What? Really? So then I'm surprised at how fast she comes back to me. Well, it turns out she was being paid. She was at 10,000 pesos. That's top dollar. That's $200, something like that. She was being paid to be with me. And there was I'm getting into the source who was paying. It had nothing to do with anyone in my group. And people were trying to impress me. There was things they wanted. They wanted enhanced investment from California. It meant a lot to the Philippines. The president put what I did in her speech, in her sauna. 4 things I did to improve the economy, she said. And I'm sitting there in my suit and tie sweating, the only one in the suit and tie in the entire sauna. The sauna the sauna is the State of the Union address for the president. She's listing what I did. She's taking credit for her 4 accomplishments. That's how significant this was. I thought I'd be introduced. I wasn't. But the point is, they wanted to impress me. They were sending women. I stopped it at some point, tried to get Alex back. I got Alex back because he texted, bring Alex. But I ended all of that pretty fast when it was discovered this was all a sham. Now, Alex may have truly liked me or not. I stayed in touch with her, but I didn't have a relationship with such a woman. And I met a high-class woman, and I was together with her for 4 years. She would not move.
Just quickly there. I wanted to ask you. I can't resist asking you.
Oh.
You were actually starred in one of my favorite movies. I'm a bit of a horror genre fan. The Malibu Beach Vampires.
Creighton Francis Filatico, the producer of that movie, was a child friend. And he said to me one day, Marcus, you need to be a model and you need to be a movie star. I swear to you.
Yes.
He was in cahoots with my mother. I was 18 when this started. I became a model.
You were so good looking. This was a 1991 vampire movie. It's a horror movie you starred in.
He put me in this movie.
How much did you earn for this movie? How much did you earn out of it?
Nothing. I charged nothing. He made money. That was okay. He produced the Malibu Beach Vampires. It had a beautiful theme song. What was it? Beach Blanket Bingo. He had some big stars in it. Louis, from the original movie called Beach Blanket Bingo, he brought some stars in. He had Angeline. She's kind of a character. Anyway, I was the star. I was Congressman Terry Upstart. And at the time, the movie, it's a ridiculously bad movie. The movie was supposed to be themed after a thing that was going on in America. There was Oliver North testifying in the United States Congress.
Yes.
Contras. Well, there was an Ollie West in the movie. There was Congressman... Yes. I forget the congressman's name. There was the congressman who said, follow me around. And he went on that boat hanky-panky and got caught with all the women. I was to play that part. Then there was Jim and Tammy Baker, the evangelists. Well, there was a Jim and Tammy Faker in the movie. So it's still shown. And Rotten Tomatoes said it was the worst movie ever. One guy said, when you see this movie, you should just blow your brains out and watch any movie again. It's bad.
Did you like it? It was fun.
But it's a bad movie. I mean, as far as
how old were you when that movie was made? How old were you?
About 19. I had modeled for 2 years because Creighton and my mother insisted. I did well in modeling. I made some money, but I stopped. I never could do ramp modeling because I was too skinny. I did one ramp show because you had to be 6'2", 42 jacket. Back then I was skinny, 36 jacket. So I did commercial fashion modeling, meaning I did clothing, only suits, never sportswear, tuxedos. I could not do sportswear. I was too skinny. I couldn't do in-person modeling. I was too small. I'm tall, but I was too thin. And I did magazine stuff. I got paid about $1,000 for a full day, $500 for a half day, and I did a lot of those, about 60 of them.
Wow, incredible stuff, Marcus.
I will show you one thing. Hold on a minute. I have it right here. So in all of the modeling jobs, Archie, that I had, in all of the modeling job, I told you 60. I'm guessing I made like $60,000. So for that year, and a second year I did less of it, but there was only one. Every time I did a job, they would have 5 models there, 6 models there for the same outfit, take pictures, and then they would use 1 or 2 photos of whoever looked the best. They never picked me. I could never in my portfolio put any picture of a real published shoot until this one. Can this be shown? Can it be seen?
Yes, of course it can.
Okay.
Oh, try again.
Why can't? Can you see it?
To turn the background thing off.
I can't. I don't know why. I changed it because I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. So, can you see it?
Oh, I can see it now. Yeah, that's
right.
you. Fuck, you look good.
That is a De Laurentiis suit, a Perry Ellis tie, I believe a Perry Ellis shirt. I dated that model. Her name was Alexis Douglas. She did very well as a real ramp model, and years later. And I was about 19. It is the only photo ever published of me. I got it in the negative. As I remember, they sent a negative, and I printed the negative. And there it is. And it's been in this frame ever since. So that's the only official published. But I didn't care. I got paid. You don't get paid more money in those days because you're published in a picture or a magazine.
Marcus, I gotta tell you what. Let me ask you something. With this thing with Trump and tariffs, what's going to happen? How's it going to play out? Tell me that.
Archie, you really want to go into this?
Okay, we won't. Any Tell me this. You've met some. I'm more of a Marcus fan. You know, were you a Marcus fan in the day, or what side of Filipino politics did you kind of like there?
Oh, no, Marcus is, well, when I first went to the Philippines, everyone wanted to meet me because I don't know why. Well, I know why, but
yes.
I often questioned the seriousness of it. And Mrs. Marcos put a request in to the Office of American Affairs. It's a Philippine office in their version of State Department. They call it the Office of Foreign Affairs. And Lourdes Aguilari was my Filipino contact in that office. And she said, Miss Marcos, everybody wanted, the World Bank wanted to meet with me. The Asian Bank, not the World Bank, the Asian Bank. Anyway, whatever. Miss Marcos is calling. She wants to meet. Okay. So
yes, of course.
We meet. She has 14 people with her. We meet. I counted
She's
them.
Nice, isn't she? She's very nice, I heard.
First of all, I first met her. I was told she's hosting a lunch for me, although it was at her friend's house, who was the mother of a congressman named, I forget. If I looked at the plaque he gave me, which is in the other room, I could tell you, remember it. Anyway, it wasn't a plaque, a glass shield thing. Anyway, so I'm at this table and we're having lunch and I'm next to Miss Marcos. And I said, and those pictures are on my Facebook. I think they're public even. I said, Miss Marcos, why do I deserve this honor of having your presence? And she just said, I would like you to, she was embroiled in a lawsuit at the time with America to get $700 million out of a bank account. And she said, I'd like to tell anyone I can my story of how we didn't steal the gold. And she had her driver at the end of the meeting. There was about 12 people at the table. The congressman, the congressman's mother, a bunch of other people, my host, Romeo Vincent, her, other people. And she tells one of her bodyguards, go out and get the driver to give you the book. Everyone hears this, the book. Okay. So I'm just sitting there right next to her. She's sitting right to my left. And they bring in this big binder, like a, you'd save little notes and things in, but it was very large. And a scrapbook, that's what I would call it in my day, a scrapbook. She brings it in and everyone leaves the room. Everyone is gone. It's like I learned later, boss, they did that because they have all seen this before and they didn't want to be part of it. She opened up the book, turned it page by page, and started to tell me stories. They were all about her and her husband's life and how in the end, she didn't steal any money. You know, Marcus, she told a joke. She said, Marcus, they went into my closet. They ran me out of the country. When they went into my closet, they didn't find skeletons. They found shoes. And if you know anything about her, she's famous for having thousands of shoes. There's a museum. So that was her joke.
Mind you, I mean, let's be honest there, the Philippines was a big shoe country. Of course she would have shoes gifted to her all the bloody time.
Marikina is where they make the shoes. Although China
Yeah.
does it cheaper, because I tried to do a shoe deal in the Philippines and I lost
Yeah.
it to China because they did it
Yeah.
even cheaper. But Marikina in the Philippines is the shoe capital. And then after that, every few times I'm in the Philippines, which is 3 to 4 months every year, during those trips, I put in word with, I believe her assistant's name was Nina. I put in word with Nina that I'd like to have lunch. And once I even treated. It was hard to treat her. She would insist. But she didn't come with her entourage. She came with 2 bodyguards, and we would have lunch alternating different locations. She's taken ill. Her eyes have always been troubled. She's now really old. I lost touch with her during the pandemic. I made one call and I said, look, if your son, rather, who she never introduced me to, I met many congressmen. I actually never met him. I said, I'd like to come to the inauguration. So I was invited, but I actually did not go to the inauguration.
I see. Marcus, you've truly lived an interesting life there. It's you're now settled in California.
Yeah.
You love Porsches.
Yes.
I want to ask you this, when are you going to get yourself a Breguet? You're a man who should have a Breguet watch.
Well, let's start first with the watch we're wearing today. I wore it's a beautiful 50 fathoms. It is the titanium version on the sailcloth with no titanium. I don't know why I didn't get the titanium clasp. I've been wondering since. But and this is a replacement strap. It's not even authentic because my real one was damaged. So I found one. But it actually is nicer than the original. But this is a beautiful watch, Archie. Have you ever liked this watch?
Actually, you know what? When I was in Macau, I went to the Blancpain boutique and they treated me like royalty. They brought out Macallan 12 and Macallan 15 whiskey.
Oh.
And I must tell you, Blancpain is a fantastic brand. What am I wearing today? I'm wearing 2 things. I got my Breguet, solid gold Breguet.
Beautiful.
And I've got my Patek World Time, because I've just come from Geneva. I've come from Geneva, Switzerland. And
I watched you. That place was ridiculous. That all those lines and cues. What's that about?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much how it is there. It's very, very busy. But I must tell you, we want you to join the Breguet. We want you to become a Breguet man. You are the sort of man we want, larger than life. We don't know whether your stories are true or not, but when we dig, they are true. This is the shocking reality.
Well, I always have a story, and I could tell you all sorts of stories next time. We could decide the day I snuck in. I got in a little trouble with the Secret Service, but the day I snuck in to I don't want to give away the story. I snuck in to see the president when I was in college with a buddy, Robert Handler, and it's a great little story of how we were detained for hours.
Which president was this?
It was President George Bush, and he was staying at the Century Plaza Hotel in Los Angeles.
Did you manage to meet him?
I managed to get to his floor and near his door.
But you didn't manage to say hello?
No, it was a little bit late for that. He was probably sleeping anyway. We were just goofing around. But it's a great step-by-step story. And it has a great punchline where I say, it's a teaser. I actually am sequestered with Agent Christensen. I'm stuttering because it's been a long time. I'm trying to remember. It was Agent Christensen, my friend, my college buddy. He was in another room with another agent. And I slammed my hand on the table. And I said, Agent Christensen, I don't even find Jodie Foster attractive. Now, I don't know if you can. That was hilarious because the guy that shot at Reagan claimed he did it to impress
Jodie
Foster. Okay, so you get the
Yes.
yeah. So
I get the
I thought
irony.
it was very funny at the moment, and it was hysterical. I don't even find Jodie Foster attractive, and I'll tell how that fits into that. There was a reaction to his comment, which was also funny. So it's just a teaser if you ever want me to tell that story.
Marcus, tell me this. You are retired or you do consulting work. What is your main gig now?
I was a career political appointee my whole life before and after colleges. I say colleges because I went to a bunch of them.
Yes.
Yale, Harvard, Pepperdine, Moore Park Community College, Pierce College, USC. I graduated USC. I've always been a career political appointee. I've worked for a councilman, a county supervisor. I worked for a state legislative member. I worked as a chief consultant. That's an employee in a legislative committee of the California legislature. I worked in Washington as a senior fellow for the American Conservative Union. I worked for Ronald Reagan for one day in the White House. It's a great White House story. I just told it the other day. How did I end up one day and then left? That's another great story. But anyway, the point is, and I ran California's largest agency, which was the second largest agency in the nation. I served in various capacities where I ran on my own the agency and with help of other staff and other appointees. I was a constitutional officer in California. There's only 14 of those. The governor was one, I was one, and there's a whole bunch of others. Some are elected, some are appointed. They're called constitutional officers because the job itself is actually in the state constitution. And there's only 14 jobs like that. I held one 8 years. So when I couldn't get reappointed to anything in 2008 and 9, I guess by 10, because I wanted to do nothing for a year. After I got tired of doing nothing, I tried to get reappointed. California politics changed. I think I'm giving away where I stand politically, which I don't like to. As I say to people, don't judge me by whom I've worked for. You know, I have my own political views, but I did do jobs for a salary as a career appointee.
Sure.
So to answer your question, I do consulting now. In 2010, I put together a team of attorneys, CPAs, and lobbyists. Why? Because I don't have any credentials. I use their bio, I use their credentials. I do all the work, with one exception. I don't have the skill set of a CPA. So in some instances, in some of my client cases, my CPA and I split the fee, and he actually helps. I don't need my attorneys, although they're there. I use them because people expect when they contact a guy like me, there be a legal component, a lobbyist component. I have a lobbyist. So these are advisors. I use their bios. I use their pictures. They owe me favors. I use their credentials. I do the work. It's called the Marcus Allen Frishman Group, the math group, team of attorneys, CPAs, and lobbyists. Admittedly, the CPA is heavily used. Now, every now and then I have to refer a case to one of my partner attorneys. I take no fee and they handle it on their own, but that's rare. But that's what I do. I do legal work. I get people out of trouble criminally, civilly. I don't go into courtrooms. I don't do anything that is exclusive to an attorney at law. That would be illegal. I don't hold myself out as an attorney. My attorneys in my firm aren't in the practice of law. They are consultants. Just because they're lawyers doesn't mean they practice law.
Sure. No, I understand what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying. So we're all consultants. I do most of the work. We fix problems. If you have a government problem, if you're in trouble, I'll get you out of it.
Let me ask you this. I want to ask you about the Philippines.
Yeah.
How I've been a hugely I've never actually been to the Philippines, okay, but I have a lot of friends some friends of mine have married Filipino women,
Mhm.
and I love the South Pacific Asia region.
Mhm.
How is the Philippines going now? Is it worse than it was in the 90s? Is it better? How would you rank it? Tell me this.
Well, because the Philippines is this class society, and because
Yes.
4.5% of the Philippine people are as rich as the 1% in America, that 1% in America is super rich. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to be very rich to be in the top 95% in America. But in the Philippines, you're either rich or poor, 80% unemployment. At least last I checked, that those stats could be a little old by a few
Sorry,
years.
when you say you mean 95% rich, you mean, don't you?
I'm saying in America, when you're in the top 5%,
Yes, you don't have to be that rich.
you don't have to make that much money. I'm forgetting the exact numbers, but I was in the top 5% as a government employee. So you don't have to make a lot of it's good money, but it's not, but our 1% is very rich. They're hundreds of millions of dollars each. In the Philippines, that 1% is 4.5%. That's their number. I think it's probably bigger, but that's their public number. Everyone else is poor, dirt poor. 80% is unemployed, or at least that's the stat from a few years ago. So it has created this beautiful place called Manila, that if you go to certain very large places in a community of 30 million people, it looks like you're in the wealthiest communities of the world. Just absolute wealth. And it's cheap. It's cheap because of their economy. If you have, well, I'll tell you right now, Manny Pacquiao probably has the most beautiful place in the world. He doesn't spend more than $2,000 a month on rent. You can't. Oh, sure, there's a few exceptions. I'm speaking generally. So it's really easy to get really nice stuff very cheaply. And that's because of their economy. But the moment you leave the Philippines, Manila, Philippines, or the moment you leave certain portions of Manila, because there's pockets of extreme poor and poverty, it's like another world. So it's this dichotomy. Beautiful, fabulously wealthy, like Hong Kong or the best parts of New York City, frankly, cleaner and nicer than New York City. So you have to be prepared for that dichotomy of class and wealth and income. That's why I don't travel too much to rural provinces of the Philippines. I don't like being there.
I see what you're saying. So basically, yeah, okay. So labor is very cheap. Do you think the Philippines in the last 30 years is worse off or better off than it was 30 years ago?
I think the last president tried to clean up corruption. The previous president, Duarte, he tried to end corruption. He was very tough. If he did too much, remember, that's an oligarchy. They'll kill him.
Yes.
He did what he could because theoretically, Filipinos, the most corrupt of them, want to clean up their society, but it's always someone else and someone else's genre. It's every corruption emanates that entire country. This president is cleaning it up too. The last two presidents have done a pretty good job to make the place better. And I'm going to tell you what I told the president of the Philippines when I was conversing with her. I said, Madam President, this is in 2004-05 when I was somebody special in the Philippines. I said, look, you have to have a minimum wage in the Philippines. You have to have a minimum wage of about 4,000 pesos, which is about $100 a day. Your minimum wage is about 400 pesos at the time, whatever that is.
You mean $100 a month, don't you?
No, I mean a day. I told her you need to have $100 a day minimum. That will put you at 4,000 pesos, and that will put you comparatively with any country's normal minimum wage. But by the way, nowadays that's higher. But I'm talking 2004. It was 2004. And she looked at me and she said, well, that will reduce profits of the corporations and the monopolies. Everything's a monopoly in a corporation. Everything's a monopoly in the Philippines. There's no competitiveness. There's one guy, he owns all the malls. Oh, there's a couple of other guys. There's one guy that owns every watch store, every single watch store. So I'm giving you anecdotes, but it's one guy. So I said to her, I sat down with one of these massive, he owns the largest fast food restaurant in the world. Let's not name it. I sat down with him. I talked with him. And he said to me, I make about 95 to 98% profit with every bowl of food I sell. I said, are you aware in America, to compare it, most corporations make 3 to 7%. And the only corporations that really make 7% to 25% profits are very unique, very special utility companies, energy companies. But the stores, the average middle and upper class corporations, they make 3 to 7%, always under 20. You're making 95% profit because you're paying people 450 pesos. Now I think it's 600 pesos, which is for the conversion. It's under 20 bucks, okay, a day. And you're making them work 12 hours. You're making them work every day but one a month. Some lucky places, it's one day off a week. You're making them sleep and stay at your facilities during break time because, they need unions. Here's this Republican advocating unions in the Philippines. So they need to clean up their economy. But guess what? They don't want to because they have an oligarchy. They have a slave class. And that's what they like to keep. That keeps people in line. And I don't know why the Philippines people haven't risen up. I don't understand it. But it is what it is because the corporations have the ability to pay a minimum wage. I'll end with this one last comment on the economy. They're called a third world country, but take a look at the real third world countries of the world. They're poor, they're broke, they have no money in their government. The Philippines is rich. They're rich in the government, they're rich in their people, and they make their money on sales tax primarily by taxing everything, and mostly the 100 million 80 million very poor people.
I see. Interesting. Marcus, we're going to wrap this baby up. It's been a pleasure having you on. Let's get you back next week, same time.
Archie, what was our viewer count today? And I didn't see many people contributing like last week.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Look, it is what it is. We've got about 80 people watching, but these programs here are much more than that because we're building up a profile and they're gaining momentum. These stories are gaining momentum. So by all means, let's keep it going. Marcus, thank you so much for coming on.
I'd like to get rid of my background. I changed the background, but when I clicked no background, it brings up some random background. It's just terrible.
I tell you what, just stay on the air. I'm going to run the outro and then I'll show you how to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Guys, this is the Marcus Allen Frishman live stream. You've been with Marcus himself. We'll be back next week and make sure you watch the program, guys. Make sure you are watching the program and we will be back next week. See you later. Fan